welcome to Corsairathletics.com as we continue with our season previews as we get set for a busy winter season at UMass Dartmouth. I'm joined now by Steve Gardner, the head coach of the men's and women's indoor track and field teams as they get set to begin competition that'll take them right up into the spring. And Coach, it's busy for you year-round, of course, as you recruit and as you train the various athletes that you have, but now with cross-country season being over and the fall season's concluding, you're finally going to get into competition as your team. I imagine you've got to be pretty excited to get that going.
Oh yeah, we're excited, and we're actually still sharing a little bit because I'm the assistant cross-country coach. So we do still have regionals a week from tomorrow, a week from Saturday the 14th. So we're kind of doing both at the same time. But yeah, we started with our indoor practices started a week ago Monday. So we're just finishing our second week. So kids worked really hard in the off season. They were in training with Brandon Williams, the strength and conditioning coach in the fitness center since September 14th. And then they also were running on their own because we legally can't start till a certain date. Right. And so we were able to start this Monday, a week ago Monday, and the kids came in really good shape. So we're really excited about the start.
So one of the real pluses for you as a track coach is you know that your athletes are active in doing something all year round, and that's not really a huge concern, but they come from different areas. Some run cross country and some will play other varsity sports on campus, and then maybe some won't in the fall. So they all sort of come in from different avenues with different perspectives. How do you welcome different athletes into the fold depending on what they were doing with their summer and fall?
Yeah, well, it's important to know what they've been doing, because if obviously someone's coming in, and you'll know really quickly if they're not fit, but also it can really wreak havoc for their season if you end up coming in and giving them a volume of work that's way beyond what they're capable of handling because of their if they have a lower fitness level, or if they're coming in as freshmen or new students from maybe a program that wasn't as extensive the amount of work they did. So you need to know their background too, even the newcomers come in, what have they been exposed to before and how much can they handle, how much maybe elementary teaching you need to give. Just like in a lot of the other sports, it's probably very similar in that regard. But yeah, we have different events, and there's different levels of expectation as far as where strength should be in certain events and where maybe endurance should be in certain events and that sort of thing. So we got to be aware of it, and we got to monitor that real carefully, particularly early on when we're starting out.
And one of the challenges I'd imagine for you as a head coach is you've got to take a team full of individual athletes competing in individual events and foster a sense of team as they're going to compete as a team for wins and losses, just like any other sport, as you go through the year. So you have, in track and field across a wide array, you have sprinters, you have distance runners, you have throwers, and they might not necessarily work with their teammates on a day in, day out basis or really at all. So how do you get them to identify with one another as teammates, and how do you foster that camaraderie like you need to?
That's a great question, and that's really an issue with track and field. Right. And coming from high school, where I coached for over 30 years, that task was a little easier than it is in college, because in high school we'd all, bell would ring at 2:07, and at 2:30 we'd all be in the gym together as a group, and we'd have daily meetings with 100 guys and 100 girls that we kind of just start that fostering that type of teamwork right from every day from the beginning of every practice. Where in college, you have kids practicing at different times. Besides different events, you have kids practicing at different times because of class schedules. You might have students that come in at noontime to do a workout because they can't be there at the normal time, which we start at 3:30. We also have kids coming in as late as 5 o'clock to do workouts. So it is really kids coming and going, and we're fortunate in track and field that we can do that, where you wouldn't be able to do that with a basketball team. Right. And say, well, you can come later and we can get your workout done. So it's an advantage for us in that regard. But yeah, the team part is, you really do have to work hard at it. In fact, when later today when we have practice, we have weekly team meetings, and we're separate from the guys and the girls. So each team has their own identity there. Most of them eat together after practice. They'll leave together. It's not something it's kind of just something that's developed over the 7 years I've been here. We do a lot of bonding during intersession, where the kids are living together. And we try to really make sure, like you mentioned, I was happy to hear track and field, because it is both components, events in track and events in the field events, and we try to make sure each group knows that. We try to make sure during the course of the meets, when you're there for 7 hours, 8 hours at a track and field meet that kids are and team members are aware of what other people are doing in their events and get over there when they can to try and at least root them on and give them some support so we can kind of build some team harmony and unity during the course of each practice and also at meets. But yeah, that's definitely a track and field issue, is trying to foster a real team atmosphere, because it is such an individual sport, but also with the practice schedules where they are in college makes it even more difficult.
And so part of how you address that is you install captains, I would imagine, across different events and different portions of the competition on the men's and women's side. Tell me about your captains this season, where they come from and what they excel at.
All right, we have 5 men's captains and 4 women's captains. Both teams have, between the two teams, we have 75 team members. So it's a big team compared to when I first got here 7 years ago. The two teams together didn't number 30 people. So we've really kind of built the numbers up. And on my men's side, we have 2 boys from Attleboro High School. Attleboro's been very good to us in the few years I've been here. But Kevin Cutler, anybody who's been following our sport in the last couple of years would know that name. And Kevin's a 2-time All-American in the high jump. He's jumped 6 feet 11 inches. And he's a senior business major from Attleboro. Wonderful young man, and he's actually qualified for the Nationals every season he has competed. This is his 3rd year in our program, transferring in from University of Rhode Island as a freshman, where he didn't compete at URI and then came here. His sister was here already, and he decided to transfer over. His high school teammate, Brandon Jarowski, another business major from Attleboro, and Brandon last year was 6th in Open New England. So that's one advantage we also have in track and fields. We can compete against all the schools. So at Open New England's, we're in with UConn, URI, UMass, Amherst, Boston College, and so on. And Brandon was 6th in the Open New England's last year in the 200. He's 2nd all-time in school history in the 200. And he also, actually, his sophomore year, at Open New England's again, indoors, we won the seeded section of the distance medley. He ran a 48.6 relay leg indoors and a 400 as a sophomore, and we beat some of those schools in that race, which was pretty. It was pretty nice experience to have UMass Dartmouth winning against Division I schools in a distance medley, and Brandon was a big part of that. We also have Michael Vaz, who's from Dartmouth, Massachusetts, went to Greater New Bedford Vocational. He was the 10,000-meter outdoor champ in the Little East Conference last year, and just an extremely hard worker, and proved a great deal in the last 3 years. And looking forward to him indoors. He'll be running more of the 5 and 3, because thank God for his sake, there's no 10K indoors going around that track. So he'll be running the 5K and the 3K. We also have Paul Hamlet, who's from Whitensville Christian. He's a junior. He's a 200, 400 man. He's run 50.56 in the 400 indoors. And we also have Greg Bedsold, who's a mechanical engineering major from Pioneer Valley out in Western Mass. He's a thrower. He throws the indoor weight. He's 4th all-time school history in the indoor weight and the hammer outdoors. And on the ladies' side, we have 4 captains. We have LaQuacia Anderson Jenkins. She's a senior from Brighton, Massachusetts. She's one of the all-time greatest sprinters in UMass history. She's on her all-time list from everything from the 55 meters right up through the 400 meters. We have a girl by the name of Summer Jones from East Bridgewater, Massachusetts. She's the school record holder in the 500 meters. And we also have Hunter Carden from Branford, Connecticut, who's a photography major. And she's our school record holder in the pole vault, and also she's 3rd all-time in the 500 meters. Hunter also plays field hockey. She's just coming back after a tough loss this weekend. We're giving her a couple of days. She's pretty. I call her a rud rack. She's pretty beat up from the year. She's one of those kids that tosses herself all over the turf at Cressy during field hockey, and she's similar on track. Really a really tough, hard-nosed athlete. And then also our 4th captain's Cassie Remoulade, another senior from Bellingham. She's a hurdler. All very good leaders. We're really blessed with the leadership we have amongst our captains in our junior senior class.
You mentioned Hunter, she's one, and then I'm always amazed with your athletes how much they juggle. Every Division III athlete does, but the track folks especially, your days are so much longer when you travel and compete. So much time, homework gets done in bleacher decks and things like that. But on Corsairathletics.com, we're doing this interview for it. I don't know if a lot of people realize this, but the sights and sounds that they see, photographs and videography that gets done, a lot of that gets done by a couple of your athletes. Hunter Carden has been a photographer for the site, and Megan Shirtliff's been a videographer for the site. So I guess I'm just giving you an opportunity to take all the credit for everything we've ever done on CorsairatAthletics.com.
Well, Hunter also is our photographer at meets. We put out a newsletter that we send out to all our alums and to our recruits and to the parents of the kids on the team after every meet. It's a little PDF 4-page format, and Hunter, while she's competing, is also taking pictures and for us. So that she's a big help with that for us as well. And you're right about the juggling of the work. I mean, our women's team has been an academic All-America team 3 out of the last 4 years. We missed this past year by 100th of a grade point.
Ouch.
And you're right, when we leave for meets at 7 o'clock in the morning and we're getting home on a Saturday at 10 p.m., they are doing their schoolwork. We had a lot of nurses on that team. It also is a really big requirement for them. And on the guys' end, the majority of the guys are engineers. I mean, so we've got kids that are in labs, which explains the practice situation, because a lot of those labs are offered in the evening or from 2 o'clock on, and so that they have to juggle that. Their practice schedule. Gregory, the weight thrower, he's a lot of times he's with my assistant Darren DeAndre till like 7 o'clock at night. They're in the dock working out because a couple of days a week because he can't get over till like 5 p.m. Yeah, it's to their credit the work they do and how they balance things and juggle things and the sacrifices they make to be able to compete.
Well, Coach, thanks for taking the time to sit down, and hope you and your teams have success this season.
Well, I hope we do too, and thanks for having me.
All right, that's Steve Gardner, the head coach of men's and women's indoor track and field. They'll be competing throughout the season. You can track their progress on CorsairatAthletics.com.